My name is Jim Sullivan, and as far as a GIE, I've been on board since probably 2019 is when I first talked to Steve, and he called me out of the blue, and we discussed the model, and I signed on immediately. Before that, I was an IBM business partner for several years, and before that, I was an IBM employee. So I worked in what was called at the time the Wall Street business unit. We had major accounts, so we had large banks, large insurance companies, exchanges. So we were very high volume, very as far as revenue, right? We were probably the business unit that had the highest revenue, either in the Americas or maybe in the world. And before that, I was actually working for a healthcare company, a pharmaceutical, where I was a developer. I have a master's in computer science and an undergrad in electrical engineering. Took a job as a developer doing some database development. We had to somehow manage these software products, so our team volunteered to set up Rational products. And we also ran our backend, our runtime environment was WebSphere because it's of the scalability of WebSphere. So I learned how to be an administrator based on that alone. And the healthcare company eventually got purchased, and I moved on. I developed a relationship with the IBM team. Everybody thought it was a good fit, moved over there, and for, I guess, 12 years, working aligned with the sales team as a technical representative. Like I said, Citigroup, the JPMC, those were all my clients, and just about any issue you could have with the Rational brand. Rational brand was big at that time. And also WebSphere, right? Because the world ran on web applications and mobile applications. And as far as scalability, still to this day, even, I don't know if any product is a real competitor to WebSphere application server. Yeah, upgrades are, teams plan them in. Being with the vendor, right, we knew when there were going to be new versions, and we spoke with the teams, obviously got them ready. Sometimes it was a major effort to upgrade, and it involved obviously would involve working off hours, which was never a lot of fun. There were also times where a lot of research had to be done. Test environments had to get set up, had to get refreshed. A lot of practices certainly were. A lot of planning was built in just to make sure that everything would go smoothly. So upgrades are a major effort, no question about it. Sometimes if it's an iFix, that you call iFix patches, those generally, they go pretty smoothly because they're typically small, lightweight, targeted, go into a directory, shut the product down, start it back up. That's fine. I mean, that was never a big issue. But any type of upgrade was major plans, major efforts, a heavy lift. Oh, certainly, there have been times. Well, I can tell you the Rational, especially Rational for whatever reason, always had a very cumbersome licensing process. It was always very cumbersome. As virtualization, as that became a strategy more and more, right, getting away from native hardware, moving to virtual machines, the licensing, the licensed servers, they were always bound to a host ID and an IP address, just because you couldn't make copies of the licenses, right? And then buy one and then suddenly have 50. But there were times where other teams, sometimes other teams around the data center, I can remember working with a team in New York, and the data center was in Singapore. Well, the Singapore team, right? We're not even in the same time zone. The clients, we don't speak regularly because they were hosting. However, though, when the product was brought back up online at one time after a little bit of maintenance, because it was a virtual machine, the host ID changed, and nobody in that data center knew at the time to keep that host ID constant. So what did that mean? It meant all of the products went offline because now they couldn't find the license server was not, they were no longer pointed to the license server. That was a mystery because it was working 2 hours ago or the day before, let's say. Now it's not working. All these products now are all offline. And we went through all of the logs, all of the troubleshooting, couldn't understand what the problem was. What's changed? Nothing. Just we added a patch, tried rolling back. Obviously, still the problem. That one got to be 1 day, 2 days. And then somehow we were able to just retrace the steps, get into the logs, and we were looking at the host name that was part of the errors from the license server. And I was just on the command line, and then suddenly I noticed in the prompt that the host, they didn't agree. And then we had our first clue because we were on the phone with product support, and it wasn't really going anywhere. It got to be, again, a level one. The big bosses at the bank were starting to get nervous or starting to find out it was making its way. Although this was definitely, this was not an enterprise product in any way. It was not interfering with any business of the bank, but everything doesn't matter, right? Even if it's a water fountain, if it goes offline, it's tracked, and that's all. That's just part of the business there, and that's how we figured it out. And just did some confirming, got in touch with the data center, reset, and then suddenly everything was working again. Go through the onboarding meeting, which is great, but I like to talk to the owners of that system, whoever is the admin, right? We'll just say now the system owner for that, and really just find out. Same thing, get a little bit of background, what they're using it for, how many environments do they have, is it possible to spin up another environment? Do you have a cloud, like a local cloud? Maybe we could have a test, if you don't have a test environment, although most customers do. And then, talk about what's the strategy to keep the test environment synchronized enough. So if we have to look at something or troubleshoot, can we use that environment? Because if they're not the same, you're like starting over again, right? Going over to the live system. Certainly is a relationship built on trust, because somebody says, all right, I need this system going, I need it running, I don't, or I am not the expert in it, and these days somebody's not going to be dedicated full time to that product, right? They have a suite of products, maybe they have even more than that, and the fact that there are specialists to call on is part of that customer's plan. That I know this enough to maybe know that there's an issue, but I know where to go to. The system owner knows where to go to get more information, because we do get questions. We get questions a lot, and knows where to go to in the event that there are questions or some type of a problem. What we want to look at here is just understanding who is that product owner supporting, right? Who's your audience? What are the benefits that they are getting from this? And how do we keep those benefits going? So they continue to benefit. Obviously, if the customer no longer benefits, then it's not a relationship where we could potentially lose that relationship. So we want to keep the benefits going, keep everything stable, stability. We're involved with operations almost all the time, and operations are all about stability and continuously deliver. Metrics, even metrics that are looking at what we call telemetry. Where tele means far, metric it means measurement. Is there some way, can we use some telemetry products to look at the log files and understand is there a problem? And then just continue to monitor those metrics and continue to look for stability. Boring old metrics, but as long as they're stable and unchanged, that's a good thing.